to go. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Doyle Bueller, and I'm just checking out my final connections here. But this is a preview of my web event that's coming up tomorrow. And it's going to be where I'm talking about the digital expedition, and I'm going to give a little sample, a little preview of what it actually looks like and what can be done and how it can be done and that sort of thing. So it's really quite exciting times when you think about it. There's obviously a lot of things that we have to worry about and concern ourselves as always, but the opportunity for businesses who are able to utilize digital and leverage digital is absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to be showing you exactly how to do that as well. So I just want to give you a quick little rundown, a couple of minutes here to talk about some of the key highlights that I'm going to be talking about tomorrow. And if you haven't registered, please register as well, and we'll get you going and fill your mind with some great stuff as well. So let's get started. There we go. Just share the screen and away we go. All right. So I say this every time, right? It's now November 2020, and you need to ask yourself where to from here, right? Where are you going? What are you doing? A lot of businesses need to really kind of understand how they're doing and what they need to do to move forward. And if you're in that sort of that planning stage, now is the time to be able to say, hey, this is what's super, super important. To be able to build a real-time, adaptable, and resourceful business. And that's really what the digital expedition is all about, is what pieces do you need to get you to where you want to go, to get you to that point of a thriving business and not so worried about, the chaos amongst us and that sort of thing. The digital economy is massive. And when you look at it, how can you actually leverage it? And that's sort of what the key points that I want to address here during this preview as well is, so that you can actually use them. You can negotiate with them. You can create audience segments. You can look at how you actually are able to build that infrastructure, build those digital assets, build that ecosystem as well, which is really important in the long run as well. So my name is Doyle Bueller. I guide digital challenger businesses in navigating the daunting digital economy and overcoming the fear, anxiety, and resistance of operating as a true digital company in the 2020s. I help them to discover, align, and skyrocket their online business and visibility so the world knows who they are and how they do business. And really what we want to look at is, can you still market, scale, and evolve your business during a crisis and economic downturn? And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. And we need to look at it in terms of a different perspective. Digital is not easy. A lot of businesses, a lot of entrepreneurs feel that it might be easy. You just set up a website, set up a Facebook page, and away you go. For most of us, we fully understand that that's nowhere near being close to the truth whatsoever. And we don't have to be a perfect digital business either, right? We can be what I call a digital challenger, right? So these are the businesses that are able to understand what they need to know and how to put these pieces in place as well. So if we understand that, we can become a digital challenger. And it doesn't mean you have to be first in the class, first at in your industry or whatever the case may be. It means that you've got those capabilities to fully understand where to go, what to do, how to connect, how to create that value as well. And if you don't, then guess what? You're missing out. It's pretty simple as that. So the journey. Now, we need to look at it as is it a safari or is it an expedition? And a safari to me is, getting in a four-wheel drive, going through South Africa, through a jungle or whatever the case may be, in Central America, and just kind of looking around and enjoying the view and looking at the animals, looking at the monkeys and the tigers and not getting eaten by the lions, right? That's what a safari is. What's an expedition? Well, if you look at really fundamentally what the expedition is it's a journey of discovery. The expeditions are the ones that brought Europeans to North America. They're what brought explorers to Antarctica and to the North Arctic Circle as well. So really, if you look at just that, they're the ones who, had the first flight across the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and across Asia and everything else like that. When you think about it, an expedition is difficult. It's a challenge, but what did they do in advance? They prepared. They looked at what do we need, what team do we need, what resources do we need, how do we put this together, how do we plan it out, how do we actually understand what it is that we need to do. And this is, even up the mountain of Mount Everest, right? How did they get there? That wasn't a safari, right? It was an expedition. And it took them a long time just to get to that base camp, and then that base camp, and then that summit. And then, even then, what did they do? They had to continue that journey, right? Just because they were pointing back down to the ground doesn't mean that they weren't, less of an expedition. This part is part of the expedition. It's part of the journey as well. So it's looking at, are we observing and seeing in a safari, or are we actually discovery and doing? And to me, that's the fundamental difference, is that we need to change this into a discovery and into doing and execution, right? That's key. So why do we want to do this? Well, the journey of discovery and opportunity, you're already sitting on a mountain of value, right? Let's be honest. You're in business, you're running the business, you're getting sales, you're getting customers, all that great stuff. But where could you go from here? Do you have that stability? Do you have that understanding of what needs to be done and how it needs to, what course you need to take and what journey you need to go on as well? So if you look at it, I've got 10 steps here, what I call base camps, that'll take you up to the summit and then back down the other side, because we want to understand the chaos, the confusion, the uncertainty. What's going to happen? When's it going to happen? What are we going to do about it? We want to get to the digital promised land, where we can look at clarity, certainty, competency. And why? Well, that gives us choice. That gives us choice to decide, okay, how do I allocate my resources? What industry do I want in, or what market segment do I want to work in as well? So it really helps you define that choice. If you're able to understand that I can get past the chaos, I can get past the confusion, I can get past the uncertainty by following a simple process, a simple methodology. And I'll make digital easy. Digital is hard, right? I've been in digital for like 18 plus years. From the e-commerce world, one of the biggest, fastest growing companies in Canada. And digital is hard. It's not easy, right? I don't know how many times I can say that, but it's important that we actually learn and understand what it is that we need to do and go from there. So I'm going to go in the actual web event. And again, this is the preview. This is the preview. I'm going to take you through these 10 base camps: sense making, inflection, signals, transformation, fear, learning, growth, digital expedition, the digital amps approach. And I'm going to show you quickly this piece here, so you can see how it all fits together. Your flight plan, timing and targeting, and your digital challenge to end it all up as well. So why is this important? Well, if you look at the last 9 months since COVID, right, we've had a giant growth, a giant spike in digital adoption in terms of businesses, and this is just the UK and US, right? Just so that it's clear. So we've had a huge peak. If you look at 2019, we're roughly 20% digital adoption, and this means how many businesses actually have a website, a basic level, right? Website, or actually it's beyond that basic level of just a website and a Facebook page and that sort of thing. So you really have to look what's beyond that. What's beyond that? Well, it's bringing your audience on a journey, bringing them on that story that you're trying to tell and develop with them. So we're only at 20% on average, and it peaked at about 35%. This was about 5 months ago. But the point is that this amount of growth, actually, just before I get into that, if we look at Australia as well, what do we see? We see the desire for the audience behavior to do more digital. Okay, pretty simple. They can't go to the shop, so what do? They go order online. And yes, we have seen this as a spike, and there will be drops as well. You can see drops here. This is from May again. There was drops after into May, but this has continued on, and there will be drops as some businesses decide, you know what, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to develop that digital strategy or whatever the case may be. So there's massive opportunity. So we're about here in terms of 20 to 30% of digital penetration adoption, right? Is your business fully has that full capability to provide that experience, develop an understanding, provide that customer journey in the digital space. Right now, we're only at about 20%. Where should we be? Well, realistically, how do we get into that 75 percentile? Well, first off, we need to work at it, right? It's not just going to magically happen. So we need to be able to understand how to do that. So can we move you to that position? I'd actually be curious. I know we're live in a few places, but if you're watching the replay rather, I'd love to see where you feel that you are in terms of that digital adoption curve, because that's really important. We really need to know and understand what step we're at so that we can move forward from there. So the opportunity, this little snaggletooth down there, that shows us that we've had 5 years of growth in 3 months. And again, this is going back to the first half of 2020. So when the proverbial shit hit the fan, guess what? There was a massive opportunity created by this. Okay. Those businesses that were able to engage, that were able to detail, to say, hey, this is important. I can shift my model. I can understand the pieces that I need to develop, and I can move forward out of the recession, out of the pandemic, whatever the case may be. So it's really important that we look at that. And it's massive. 5 years growth in 3 months. What if, right? So what are some of the key ingredients here? The main one, delivering a remarkable digital experience worth remembering. I'm going to go quickly into this. I want to keep this as short as possible. But we need to look at, how do we develop a Disney versus Cirque du Soleil? How do we make it entertaining? How do we scale and enable through digital, right? So we have to be able to create that experience worth remembering. Now, digital can be confusing, right? And a lot of times it looks like, a big ball of mess, right? So we need to be able to understand, how do we actually pull that out to what I call the black wire. So we have to be able to pull this confusion out. It's like we're trying to understand what we need to do, and it's going to take some work. But how do we unwind the chaos, right? We pull that black wire out. Where does that leave us? Well, what's key here? We have to have our point of clarity, we have to have our point of certainty, and we have to have our point of competency. If we have all these pieces, that gives us the tools and the knowledge and the capabilities to be able to design this digital experiment, design this digital expedition. So quickly, as I showed you, this is one of the first pieces here. Where'd it go? Anyway, a little bit of a delay here. This is part of that full triangle. Not quite like that, but there we go. So I'm just going to quickly talk to you about process, because these are some of the key ingredients to help you build that digital experience. That's important. So what are the 3 elements that are needed? Value creation, surprise, and delight. Digital experience, creating a personalized audience experience that's remarkable and worth remembering. Okay. And all these can be done fairly easily. And the third one is digital delivery, being able to deliver this on demand. So quickly, if we look at this, what I call the HelloFresh meets Jamie Oliver meets Uber Eats model. And basically what we're doing is we're providing ingredients, and think outside of food, but just to kind of demonstrate the model. What we're doing is we're providing food, like HelloFresh delivers fresh food that you then cut up and prepare and cook and all that sort of thing. It's not the prepackaged microwavable type dinners, right? It's actually quite intriguing, because they send you ingredients to be able to make something. So it makes it easier. You don't have to go shopping. You don't have to worry about walking through the store, or whatever the case may be. Now, what if we had Jamie Oliver, our celebrity chef, being able to convey sort of those key ideas that are super important, and that is able to convey that knowledge, that expertise of how they're doing things and what are they doing. So in the case of this, what if we had Jamie Oliver help you cook up a meal? And finally, what if we had all of that being able to be delivered on demand within hours of what you're doing? Now, all of these concepts are available today. Like, you can set up a restaurant, a business, it doesn't really matter, retail, you name it, you can have these elements where you're able to provide that unique value. HelloFresh, you're able to have that, create that digital experience, the celebrity chef, and you're able to provide that on-demand delivery. And in the traditional retailer, you can do that right now. You can get plugins for your website that allow you to be able to connect to a crowdsourcing type delivery service. You're able to connect your audience anywhere in the world at the click of a button, and you're able to provide that unique and refreshing value that Uber Eats, or rather HelloFresh, provides as well. And then the last example is Cirque du Soleil versus Disney. Oops. Okay, so this basically, I think it was in June, Cirque du Soleil went into bankruptcy. And really what they intended to do was they're the events company of events companies, right? So they really knew what they were doing in terms of events. But when people couldn't go to their shows, when people couldn't line up for tickets to go into the Coliseum or the Performing Arts Theater or whatever, what did they do? Nothing. They just decided, oh, that we're going to shut down. And just last week, I wrote an article, but I also, in the research of it, found that they actually closed off Zumanity entirely, like a show that's been running for 18 years. I think it's 18 years in Las Vegas. But what if they actually looked at how they can actually leverage digital? I was actually quite surprised because Cirque du Soleil has been used, and I was told this, I had no idea, but used as sort of that innovative company example in the Blue Ocean strategy book and all that kind of stuff. Why did they stop innovating? What happened? And to me, they really had the capability of being able to do a lot very, very quickly. They had, when you think about it, tens of thousands of shows or hours of video content and interviews and all this amazing content that they could actually just put into an archive, put into a streaming service, make the videos accessible. And yeah, I mean, a Cirque du Soleil event is like it's a spectacle, right? Let's be completely honest. It's not going to replace the entire digital experience, but what could you do if you had that capability? You could charge a monthly fee for access to all those videos. You could have that sort of celebrity chef type thing where you, the producer or the directors, walk you through how they created these events and that sort of thing. You have that on-demand ability where I can just go and, with my remote and check out the latest shows or, do something like that really moves forward. They didn't do anything, right? And now they're suffering. They could have easily looked at the digital experience, the value creation, and the digital on-demand as well. And finally, just Disney. They actually took this, what Cirque du Soleil didn't do. Disney said, hey, wait a sec, we've got this fantastic live theater called Hamilton. Let's actually make it into a program that we can then stream on Disney Plus service. So what did they do? They filmed it on location in the theater. They didn't make it into a big blockbuster movie. They simply used what they had, created created that event, that experience of Hamilton, and they streamed it to their service. So immediately they were able to attract more people to the Disney Plus service because they now could include Hamilton. Not a massive outlay of resources, not a massive outlay of time. It's like, we just need to create an experience that people want to be able to do right now because of the way that things were going. So there's a lot of experiences there, a lot of things that can be done as well as you get into it. And I'm going to be going into all of these. So I'd love for you to come out tomorrow, bit.ly/digital expedition 11, how to market and evolve during times of crisis and economic downturn. Yes, it is possible. So I'll be giving away a few things as well if you register. The Digital Expedition cheat sheet rather. So it's this, I've got the 10 steps here of what you can do, the things that you can walk through, what's important, what's not. A lot of it, some of it is just learning, understanding what needs to be done. It's not all you must do this and you must do that. It's wait a sec, we need to reflect on what's important here and how to put these pieces together. So you'll be able to do that with the cheat sheet rather. I've got a new Digital Expedition micro training course as well that's coming out very, very soon. So you'll get access to that. My breakthrough ebook that I'll send you as well, and some Digital Expedition resources so you can kind of start going on your way. And I actually have a full-size version of this, which is A1 size. So Tuesday, 24th November, if you're in the US and Canada, if you're over here in Australia or Asia, it's 11 a.m. rather per Wednesday, the 25th of November. So head on over there, bit.ly/digital expedition 11. just in closing, the world is shifting, right? We've previously been focusing on how many clicks we get, but we need to shift our strategies to making all of these clicks count, which is really important. And ask yourself, what's easier, around the block, around the world? The power of the finger, the power of the mouse. Your competitor is one click away. So what can you do now to help your customer, to help your audience along that journey as well as you get into it? So again, love to see you there tomorrow. Head to bit.ly/digitalexpedition11. And we're going to talk through this in a lot of depth. I'm going to show you what's important, what's not important, and give you those resources as well. If you're watching this as the preview, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. If you do have any questions about this, please tag me in the comments on the video that you might be watching, and I'll answer them as quickly as possible. So love to see you tomorrow, and we will see